In today's conversation, we're going to be giving you the top lessons learned from a professional with over 15 years of combined experience. So you're going to get all this in this conversation. This person has been an attorney for over 10 years, and 5 of those years also been practicing as a business owner. So it's going to be a great conversation. You're going to learn so much, whether you are a young professional, you're an attorney or considering to be one, or one day want to be a professional. These are lessons that you can take away with you. And even if you want to be a business owner, whether it's law firm owner or any type of business, these are universal lessons and guidance and wisdom that you're going to be getting. So it's going to be a great conversation. And the person that we're actually speaking with today and having this conversation with is Kenny Ramirez. Kenny being my brother. And Ken, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's cool to be on this side. So you doing all the hosting and me as a guest, so it's fun.
Yeah, I've done this once with you already, so it's good. I'm usually behind the camera, but it's good to be back and get this conversation going with you. So we'll just jump right into it. Mm-hmm. You have been an attorney, a practicing attorney for 10 years. And sometimes I find that hard to believe because you look very young and you don't look like you've been, you're very youthful. So I find that hard to believe sometimes, but it's flown by, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's hard to accept that 10 years have flown by, not in a bad way. It's just like, I think about like, I've worked at a firm essentially for a little over 5 years and had our practice here for 5 years, and I was just sitting down right now. We were talking about it before we started recording, going like, "Wow, I was only there for 5 years. That felt like so much longer." Still feel very young, and I think relatively speaking, and in the grand scheme of things, in terms of like the legal profession, we're still sort of getting started because this is fortunately a very long profession where we can help so many people.
Yeah, definitely, and so it's been cool. So just kind of. I said, seeing the growth as well as you as an attorney, as a business owner. I said we're going to be talking about lessons from both of those sides. Mm-hmm. But first, I guess I'll ask, maybe people don't know, did you always want to be an attorney? Is that something you always wanted?
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to be an attorney when I was a little kid. At some point, my mom said something about me, maybe being good at being an attorney, and to sort of put it in my mind. And I think she noticed a couple of things like that. I liked speaking in public. We found recently a photo of me. This was in preschool, and there was like 3 kids on stage, and I was one of them, and I was speaking at a microphone. And it was so funny because it's like, that's stuff that I continue to do to this day. And I think my mom noticed some things about me being comfortable in certain sort of arenas and was like, hey, like, I think you'd be really good at this. And she was right.
Yeah, that's cool that you had that calling from such a young age. Mm-hmm. But I'll ask, what about the people, maybe they never got that, that's so cool that mom told you that. Mm-hmm. But can someone, like I said, maybe they want to be some type of professional, but they didn't receive that kind of calling or get that, support when they were young. Yeah. Or can they, or can someone like later in life come to want to do something like that, what you're doing?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we've learned through our podcast, through Art of Purpose, and all the guests that we've had on is that everybody arrives at the purpose in so many different ways. Some people knew that they wanted to be an attorney early on. Some people had no idea what that was. And I mean, even from our end, like, cool, I wanted to be an attorney. I had no idea what that was. Like, you just saw what you saw on TV, but I didn't know an attorney. I'd never been really courtroom until I went to law school. Like, we had none of that information. So everybody's backgrounds and journeys are different. Sometimes it's a matter of like a passion that you have, and so you follow that passion. So it's not necessarily just about becoming an attorney, but it's a passion, right? Maybe it's a particular interest that you have, and then you pursue that, and that leads to something else. Your story and Brandon's, for example, who are also attorneys, were different. You guys had different journeys, right? You guys were actually going to do something else entirely. You as a psychologist, Brandon as a neurosurgeon, and you guys found your way into law. So it doesn't, even if somebody doesn't know what they necessarily want to do as a profession or as a career or as a lifelong passion, I think you keep sort of your ears open and sort of open to new opportunities and experiences, and it's something that you like, that you feel passionate about. And ultimately, like what we do as attorneys, this particular type of work, it was that we were helping people, and that is really what we fell in love with. I feel like as a family, we've always been very sort of we serve others, and this very much fell in line with that, along with, hey, I liked, speaking up and helping others. Like these sort of passions align, just following that natural sort of path of life.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no one path. Like I said, everyone's journey is very different, and it's what you're passionate about. It's what you're drawn to.
Yeah.
So regardless of profession, whether you want to be an attorney, doctor, open up your own business, anything like that, it can happen at any point in your life.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk then? So we'll talk first, just kind of the lessons learned just as an attorney, and then we'll go to the lessons learned as a business owner. So top 4-ish lessons.
Yeah.
You want to start with kind of like what's the first big lesson that we can take away,
Right.
or lesson that you've learned that you want to impart to our listeners here?
Right. So you asked me to sort of come up with these. So I was sort of thinking like, there's so many things that you pick up over the years, but if I had to sort of share with like our audience, and people tuning in for the first time, the first one would be in terms of being an attorney and starting off. When I graduated law school and when I started working, the first lesson was that a law degree was only my ticket into the game. Right. I think sometimes there's this big accomplishment that we feel, and it's absolutely valid to feel that, like after you graduate law school and now you can start practicing as an attorney, and I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. It feels like an accomplishment, and it is.
And it feels like that's it.
Yeah.
I made it.
I think that's the thing, right? Is it feels like you made it. That's the best way to put it. And the reality is that no, you've just punched your ticket into the game, right? Now you're allowed in there, and now you can build the type of life and career that you want. That means you're going to have to work, right? So the work doesn't end when you graduate law school. It's your chance to work harder than you ever have.
Yeah.
And look, everybody's different. Everybody has different sort of vision for their life and career. So that doesn't, I'm not speaking for everyone, but I will say that is the beginning of the type of life and career that you want. So you can build it, however, but it's going to require a lot of work, right? So as I started off, right, it helped me sort of have that mentality because, it eliminated any sort of feelings of entitlement that I may have had when I hadn't yet earned things. And that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have good things or like we can expect good things. No, absolutely. But, maybe there were things within the firm when I started that I hadn't yet earned something, right? Like being able to like leave early all the time, right? Hey, look, there's some 20-year partners, 30-year partners that have put in their time.
For sure.
And yeah, like sometimes they do leave early, so come in later. And you're like, well, yeah, because they have this sort of track record. And I could look at that and kind of go like, no, but that's what I want too. So like, I'm also going to do the same thing. And it's like, well, I can, right? But I'll miss out on the learning process that's going to help me get there, right? And I think, so that helped me in the very beginning. It was like, hey, look, I have a ticket. I'm now a part of this industry, and now I can craft the life and career that I want. And so it was like working hard. It was spending, late nights there. It was doing all that because I was also learning. I didn't know what it was to be an attorney. I was at a
personal injury firm, catastrophic.
Yeah, catastrophic personal injury firm. When I started off, I was going to say yesterday I was at a holiday party for the attorney that I work for, my mentor, Jack Girardi, and we were, I was there. We were talking with other young attorneys who we all started together. We were law clerks, then became attorneys with him, and we were talking about the difference between now and then. And, when we started off, we didn't know anything. It was like the very basic things. And we're making all these mistakes. We had to ask questions for everything. And it's not like we've stopped learning. It's just that it's learning at a different level now, right? But we needed those early years to create the foundation for what we're able to do now. Right. So those long hours, those extra hours, that extra work, the stuff that we volunteered for, the stuff that we didn't turn down, was all the stuff that helped us learn. And so, it's, I'm not telling people to not to look for perks or no, it's fine. But more than anything, look for chances and opportunities to learn and to shine, right? Because that's what's going to help you later on in your practice, and certainly for me. And so seeing it as an entry to an opportunity to work harder than ever, right? I think about, like our parents when they came to the United States, right? It wasn't they came to the United States and like, cool, I'm in the US now and like I get to have everything. No, they wanted to come to the US because this was their opportunity to build their American dream. But they knew they were going to have to work the hardest that they have ever worked and harder than ever. And that's sort of the same idea here. It's like, hey, I've entered into this profession. Now I get to work harder than ever. Yeah. But like it's something that I'm going to reap, right? So it's something really good. And it's not something to look down on and be like, oh man, I'm gonna have to work hard. And one thing that did help me, because I kind of took the opposite path when I graduated high school. For momentarily, right? I graduated high school and I was the first one in my family to graduate high school. When I had done that, I was the oldest of four of the kids, right? And I just remember being so excited because everybody was so excited. Yeah. And I was like, cool, like, yeah, I accomplished this thing. It's awesome, this huge accomplishment. And some of the gifts that I got were like, motivational books or how to, self-improvement books. And I was like, well, I don't need that. I already passed. Like I
made it.
I made it, right? And you think back on it, like, of course, graduating high school, like I hadn't done anything yet, right? No. But it's okay to feel a sense of accomplishment. That's great because you did accomplish it. But to also put that in context where it's like, cool, now that part's in the past and now I get to move forward. But it's an opportunity and it's a blessing. So, yeah.
Yeah, celebrating the wins, I think is really important.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's not the end all be all either. And not that we see it a lot, but maybe it's something we hear stories, right? We hear these kinds of stories, nothing that we experience personally, or hopefully that we haven't done, but you hear these stories of young professionals who they said they achieved kind of this degree or profession, whatever it is, and then they expect it all to be easy, or to, like you said, to get the same perks as someone who's been doing it for 20, 30, 40 plus years. But from what I'm hearing is that it's a constant reminder. I don't know if it's like you have to humble yourself or just that you don't know anything still.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what, Sharon? That's a great word, because humility is not a bad thing, right? I mean, humility is a strength. People, see it as something bad, right? But like, it's okay to like approach something, and with humility, accept like, I don't know this, but I'm going to learn it, right? And so I think, and what you're referring to, I mean, I have, now that I'm 10 years in, I have peers and colleagues that I went to law school with, and friends that I've known throughout the years that are now in hiring positions at firms, right, in big firms. And one of the things that I've heard, unfortunately, has been this sort of a friend. I remember somebody telling me once, like, it's like younger attorneys want the life of a partner now without having done the work that the partner has done, right? And, again, hey, I want to live my best life now too, right? And I'm not telling people like, hey, don't pursue, or like, you want to go on vacation, you want to do all these cool things, like, cool, great. But I think there is a work that needs to be done to lay a foundation for your career. And then remembering ultimately, because here's the thing, is that we can look at it as sort of like this glamorous thing. I want to get off at a certain time every single day. I want to be able to go on vacations. I want to do all these things. But we got to remember that like our profession is one of service, and where we serve clients and people, right? Personally, we represent injured people, personal injury victims. But other attorneys are going to represent people or even entities as well, right? But like, we're serving others, right? So at the end, you want to be able to serve your clients the best way possible. And the only way for you to be able to do that 10 years from now, and the best way, is for you to get equipped and learn the stuff today, right? So you can be the best attorney that person needs in the future when they come to you in the most serious moment or tragic period of their lives, and they're looking at you for legal help, right? And so in that moment is where like even the humility aspect of it, right, or big picture aspect of it, it's like you have to kind of step back and go like, well, no, I actually need to put in this work because I need to service that person 10 years from now in the best way possible. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. And no, thank you for that, Ken. And I know I like just your whole viewpoint on this, and especially entering. I know this because I knew when you became an attorney as well, and it wasn't all glamorous either. Because you even said so yourself. You were even people who enter like these professional, become these types of professionals, also are expecting even either things to be given or even this high salary as well. And I think you were definitely humbled also with your 50K salary.
I was getting paid peanuts, man, when we started.
You were getting paid peanuts.
Yeah.
But you still, even then, no matter regardless of salary, it's like you still had that mentality. It's like, this is my ticket in still, and I got to put in the work.
Yeah.
No matter what.
100%.
Without expecting, I don't think you even expecting, like, if I put in the work, that I'm for sure going to get a raise by this time or this amount. Like, you just put in the work. Because you said you're serving your clients. You want to do best by your boss or the business that you're working for. And you want to be the best attorney you can be.
100%. I mean, that firm was one of the best at that time. And like, I wanted to work there, and they also knew that people wanted to work there. So I didn't pay that much to the first year associates because they knew you wanted to be there. Yeah. And the way that I approached it was, I want to be there because of all the cases and the experience that I'm going to get there, right? And they're paying me to learn? I'm the one that's getting the best deal out of this, right? They're letting me work on these like serious cases, and like I'm getting to go to trial with these amazing trial lawyers, and I get a chance to like learn from these guys and women, and it's like cool. And they're paying me, even if it was a little, right? It wasn't the money. It was like, hey, I need the experience. Yeah. For what we're doing today. Right? Yeah. Now we have our own practice, and the stuff that I learned back then were the building blocks for the stuff that we're doing now even.
Right. Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah. And so especially as young professionals, it's like I get to do this rather that I am entitled to this.
Right.
Yeah. So I think very helpful for young professionals or even people well into their profession. Still a good mindset to have, that this is your ticket into the game. Mm-hmm. What about the next like big lesson you've learned from practicing as an attorney?
As an attorney, that there is always a way. There's always a solution. There's always an argument to be made. That is quite literally the history of American jurisprudence, right? From the Declaration of Independence on over to now, right? And it's legislation, whatever, jurisprudence, like there's always a way to argue something, even when it looks like all the case law is against you, even when it looks like, man, you don't have anything to overcome that motion for summary judgment. You're like, oh, I don't even know how to go around this. Like there is always a way, even when the tentative comes out and it's not in your favor the day before the hearing, and you're going, oh my gosh, like this case is gonna get kicked out, or we're gonna get dismissed. Like this is horrible. There is always a way out. And because that's what we do as attorneys. We argue. We come up with novel arguments. Again, that's the history of American jurisprudence. It's like things change and evolve all the time, right? And it requires it's such a noble profession. It requires attorneys to think of new ways of looking at the same set of facts and finding something that nobody else has ever seen. Right. And sometimes it's the simplest of things. And that's the stuff that honestly brings me when I'm just like working on a case and like, being technical, all about that's the stuff that brings me the most joy. It's just like, whoa, you just think of something. You're like, wait, I hadn't thought about that before. Like I can argue it this way. Yeah. Right. You're not making stuff up. I'm not talking about that. It's just like but there is always a way. There's always a solution. With cases and even with just stuff that happens, whether it's filing in court, whether it's something that didn't get accepted by the clerk for whatever reason, whether it's like this or that, it's like, hold on a second, let's take a step back and let's figure things out. And there's always a way to resolve things. And so quite literally until like, you need to convince me that there is no way, right? Because I'm just going to keep knocking. I'm going to keep trying. And that's why we have an appellate system too, right? Because you're like, well, fine, it got kicked. Well, then I'm going to go into the appeals court and find a way there. Yeah. So I think that's this sort of never-ending onslaught might be the wrong word here, but sort of this idea, this concept of like, hey, like there's always a way. Yeah. And sometimes I feel like we do that so much in our practice and for our clients, and we don't do that enough in life, in our own lives. But there is always a way, right? To improve, to get better, to change things, to represent your client better. And that definitely, I mean, I learned that through instances where I mentioned the, like, you know, tentative. It's like, I remember like going up and, you know, motion for summary judgment, a tentative comes in and it's completely against you. And now you have to sit down there that entire night, right? Like you're not sleeping because you're like reading all the case law that the judge cited, why they sided with the opposed, with, you know, in our case, defendant. And then going, okay, how do I distinguish this from our case, right? How do I let the judge know that, you know, our case is different, right? And maybe there's something that the court didn't see that I need to get them to see, right? I need them to see a triable issue of fact. I need them to see, and you know, reading, researching, writing stuff all night to arrive at that one thing that when you present that the next day makes the court go, you know what, I'm gonna take this under submission. I need to think about this. And then, you know, a couple of weeks later, you end up winning, right? And you're like, wow, there was no way we were gonna win that one, but we found a way, right? For sure. And you give it your best shot. And sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. And that's the nature of our profession and, you know, of life. But you keep going, right?
Yeah, yeah. It reminds me of, and I'm quoting this just because I've watched the new Netflix series, but it was Ryan Serhant.
Yeah. Owning Manhattan.
Yes, he said that every setback is a speed bump. It's not a roadblock. So it might, you know, he said slow you down or, you know, boom, stop you for a second, but you keep moving forward. And I think that's especially helpful for young professionals because I imagine when you enter profession, especially as an attorney, you're not getting the slam dunk cases. You're not getting the cases that are easy on liability, anything like that. You're getting, and I know you shared stories, you get the really tough cases. And the easy thing to do would be to just give in or, you know, we're going to lose this. I'm just going to do maybe just enough to show to not commit malpractice. I don't know, but you just want to do enough just to show that you did your job. But you're saying like we have to kick it up. You're kicking it up a level. It's like, no, I'm going to figure this out one way or another. I'm going to do everything I can to do right by the client, to find a solution to this case, no matter what. Yeah,
no, absolutely. I think it's, you have to do more than, I don't know, the standard.
And how do you get to that? I don't know. How do you get to that mentality? You know, I feel, you know, there's something different in you that's just like, you don't stop at just like, oh, that's it. Oh, there's no, it's like, where does this come from?
God, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah, you know, I certainly I think that there are some things that are sort of that people are born with. Sure, there are other things that we sort of develop and fine tune because I think we're all sort of born with many of these things, and maybe we fine tune different things over the course of our lives, and experiences in life then either encourage us in that direction or discourage us, right? And I think sometimes when we may not think we have this in us, it's like, hey, we have to expose ourselves to experiences that reawaken that thing in us, right? That may have gotten dulled a little bit. In terms of like my end, I don't, you know, I have a healthy, and we've talked about this, sort of like, I feel I'm very confident in myself, more so in like who God is. And so like that's what gives me confidence, not so much me and like that I think I'm super smart or anything, but I also have a healthy amount of self-confidence, but I can be very realistic and go like, I've never been like the smartest person, let's say like in the room, right? Like I don't necessarily consider myself that, right? Or the best looking or the best this or the best whatever things, right? You can go to, and that's not me, Kenny, going like, oh, I'm putting myself down. No. But I have a good amount of self-confidence, and it's like, but I will outwork. Right. And that's the one thing that I can control and that we can all control. You know, we're all born however we're born, but the amount of work and output that I give is in my power. Right. That's the one variable that we all sort of like, hey, you either do it or you don't. And so for me, it's always been like, you know what? I'm going to outwork you. And no matter what other things that we might bring to the table, I will outwork. Right. And so bringing that then, whether it was like in sports and whether it was in school or whatever it was, right? It was like, I will outwork. And so when I got to like the firm, now the other part of it is we're representing people. This is really important to them. And sort of when you accept that and let that sort of become a part of your being, it's like, this is the most important thing in their lives going on right now.
Yeah.
Right? They just lost a loved one, and there's not going to be any closure unless this gets resolved. And the law doesn't seem to be on our side, right? So how do I, knowing that, defendant allowed X to happen or was negligent in this area, like how do I make sure that this person experiences the closure that they need in their life, right? So not only is it like, hey, I work because I want to work, right, and work hard, it's also like there's this other thing that's also fueling you. It's like late at night thinking about this family, late at night thinking about him, thinking about her, thinking about our clients, right? It's like, yeah, like I am going to work hard. Yeah, and in our particular profession as plaintiffs attorneys, the business component of it, I'm just sort of like talking about everything now, but the business component of it also is like we don't get paid unless we actually get something for our clients. Now, that has never been the driving motivator for me, like money. It honestly, and you know me enough to go like that, that doesn't, right? But from a business perspective, even if you're motivated only by that, you should be motivated to work as hard as possible because you're only going to get paid unless you can get something for them. Yep. If you get something for them, right? So like, I feel like this is like, wow, like almost the best of both worlds, no matter where you're coming from, right? But from my end, I always strive to do the best that I can because that's just what I like. I like achieving as much perfection as we can. You never achieve that, but like you pursue that. That can have its pluses and cons. Sometimes it's sort of in terms of personalities, right? But then you're also really motivated by the people and the clients that you have.
Yeah.
Here.
That's great. That's good. Yeah, I think this lesson again applies to whether you're an attorney or not. Just whatever profession, whatever it is that you're doing, there's always a solution, and we got to have that mentality, right? That mentality of figuring out a way. Even when everyone or everything, the situation is telling you no, it's like, no, there's got to be something. And I think that's where you give your 110% into it. And so I definitely see that. And even working with you and cases that we have, where I see it and I'm like, ooh, yeah, this is tough. But I know seeing kind of your work ethic and kind of the way you see things has helped as well. It's like, oh, something's going to happen. We don't know what, but we just got to keep going, keep trying, and something, and especially we believe it's a righteous cause. And so after something tragic has happened, we do want to do our very best for the people that we're representing. So that definitely is a big motivating factor and
100%.
Reason why we do this, and should be the, big reason.
And I always, I just add this, that I always feel in my heart of hearts that it's going to work out.
Yeah.
Right. Now, that doesn't mean I'm sitting around waiting for it to work out.
Yeah, just waiting for it to like drop the answer to drop right into your hands.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out, but I always sort of in the back of my mind, sort of I'm like, it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. And I think both in good moments and in bad moments, right? It's like you need to have that mentality. Otherwise, like it's just be self-defeating all the time.
Yeah. Before we move on to the next lesson, do you just have like one example where you didn't say no, or of a case? I'm talking about a case where it's like all odds seemed against you, but like you wouldn't give up and you were able to find something, a quick story.
Well, I think that there's a lot, right? But just try to come up with, remember one in particular here. Let me see. Well, I think recently, because it's in my mind, recently I gave a presentation on a dangerous condition case that I had a few years ago. And basically what that is, we had clients who we represented the father of two young ladies, high schoolers, who had passed away. They were backseat passengers in a car accident, single car collision, where the driver was speeding down Jamboree Road in Newport Beach, and many people might know that road. And he was speeding, lost control, then hit a tree in the center median. It was a very horrible scene, and everybody died. All right, we were representing the father of the the little girls. And, the law kind of seemed to be, not to get down sort of all the technicalities of it, but definitely did not seem to be in our favor. We were making an argument that the tree itself was a dangerous condition, and it should not have been there. That size of a tree in a center median that was not sort of like blocked off, and it was hard, right? Because you'd think about the fault going to the driver, right? Not necessarily why the city. Why is the city involved? And but with notice and things that they were aware of, collisions that they were aware of, and that's how sort of we started bringing them in. But we had to come up with a novel argument to be able to put liability on the city, and made an argument that the tree itself, because when it was planted, it was this very small, sort of like 2-inch in diameter little tree when it was planted, 25 whatever years ago. And at that time, it wasn't a dangerous condition. But by the time that this collision happened, and other collisions like it along Jamboree Road, it had grown to this, tree that was over a foot in diameter, 10, 15 feet tall, and now was a dangerous condition. Something different, very simple sort of argument that you just sort of talk about the nature of the tree changing, and you use that to argue that this has changed, and that's in that way you overcome. They had an immunity they could use, design immunity, and to be able to overcome that. And so we argued that, got over motion for summary judgment on that, and then resolved the case at mediation. And that definitely, I know, was a case that people weren't expecting there to be a resolution on, that a lot of money was going to be spent, because a lot of money is spent on dangerous condition cases for all those experts, and that all that money might not have gone anywhere. It would just have been a loss. There were other plaintiffs as well that were involved, represented by other firms. And they were all able sort of to latch on to the argument that we made, and everybody was able to receive some sort of closure there. And I think that was a good one, because it was one of those where there was no way around it, and we found a way. Wow. Right. And I remember when I wrote the opposition to that case, that's the case that I've told you about, where I literally did not sleep. It was for 3 straight nights. I was there from like Thursday to Monday night when we filed it, and I guess that was 4. Literally didn't sleep at all. That's nuts. That's the longest I've gone without sleeping, but it was just needed to work, and like you needed to come up with something, and came up with it, and like, let's go, and worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Thanks, Ken. And it goes back to that lesson that you shared. There is always a way, and thankfully, because that mentality you had, you were able to provide justice to this family in some way, right? Can never get back their loved ones, but you not taking a no for an answer, or helped change someone's life, hopefully for the better in some way, shape, or form. So that's great, Ken. And how about we go then to lesson number 3 that you've learned as an attorney?
This is with respect to sort of how we present ourselves in our profession as individuals, right? I guess I have it this way. It's like my identity is who I believe that I am, and not what others perceive me to be, in this sense that my perception of myself is not dependent on what others think of me. I, as a young attorney, definitely had people discriminate me based on my race, right? Based on my age.
You're brown?
Yeah. It's funny because like even like for me as an age, right? Like I feel like I still look somewhat young still. I'm 36, but I often get mistaken for being a lot younger.
Yeah.
Like in my late 20s. I still get 25s quite often, which is I'll take it.
It's good genes.
But imagine, so like when I was 25 and I couldn't even grow this, right? I'm lucky I could barely grow like this mustache and beard, but back then at all. So I just looked like a little kid. So yeah, obviously underestimated so much. And then just also being Latino, right? That happened. And I have a story on that as well I can tell you guys. Yeah. But is that people can treat me that way, but I don't have to allow them to make me feel discriminated against or underestimated. Yeah. And even if I do feel it, because we're humans and we're going to have emotions and sometimes we can feel that, right? Not allowing their behavior, attitudes, perceptions, thoughts, words to affect my response.
Yeah.
Right. And in all those instances where I had people trying to treat me a certain way, being able to regulate my response and keep a cooler head, allowed me to represent my clients in the best way possible. Because once again, it's about them, right?
Yeah.
It's not about me or making myself feel like seen or heard. It's like about my client, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes if it's like inner office stuff where it's like not client related and it's just you and like people in the office relationships, right? Is then still the same thing. It's like, I don't have to allow them to affect who I am, how I see myself, right? I am who I am, and I can be confident in that. Even if people, because sometimes even people can perceive you, because this happens a lot, right? They might not think that you're smart. They might not think that you are good enough. They might not think whatever. Like, that's fine. You can think that, right? And I don't have to prove anything to you either, right? But I can still have a healthy self-perception and continue to learn and work hard, right? Like, of course, I'm not going to know as much as a partner of 30 years when I start off, and that's fine, right? But that disparity in knowledge even doesn't mean that somebody is better than you. It also conversely doesn't mean that you're better than anybody else. Right. So that's where that balance comes from, right?
Yeah.
But I think not allowing somebody to make me feel discriminated or to affect my response was so key in moments where, I definitely could have reacted a different way.
Yeah.
Right. And also this profession is built on reputation as well, right? Sometimes people, and it's not about like, oh, I want to guard my perception and people to think of me a certain way. No, but, is that old phrase is that, reputation is built over the course of many, many years and it can, be destroyed in a second. Yeah. Sometimes even other people could be in the wrong, but your response might not be the best, even though you're in the right. And all of a sudden, your reputation goes down the drain, even though they're the ones that were doing something horrible or treating you horribly, right? Yeah. So being able to now not allowing others to direct my response is important. My feelings even, but response at minimum. So I was talking about a story. Like I remember I had a client who I was representing. Again, I am like 28 years old, look like a kid, right? And I had to go to a mandatory settlement conference, which is basically a court-ordered mediation. And it was in a courthouse. I won't say which venue where, we practiced all over California and sometimes out of state. So I won't say where. But I remember going and, I was fortunate enough that, pretty early on, I was given responsibility. So I was doing these things on my own, right? So again, this like young looking kid doing these like very important hearings and arguments and mediations and whatever it was by myself. And I remember going to this mediation, speaking with the client before, just getting her ready. And then we had to go. And it was this one in this particular courthouse. It was done by a recently retired judge who was the mediator. And so all the attorneys, when we would get there with their clients, you'd have to go to this room and you're all waiting there. It's all the attorneys and their clients just kind of waiting in this room. And then you're just waiting for your case to be called. Our case is called, and then we have to go into another room where the judge is there sitting. It's not like a courtroom because he didn't have a courtroom, but it was a larger room, and I had to sit with my client in front of him, and then the other attorney was there as well with a representative of theirs, of the defendants. It was a corporation. And the judge, from the moment that I walked in, never it's almost like I saw him like look at me and then like never looked at me again. And anytime that he spoke to me, he was looking at the other attorney or like looking away from me. And when I would speak to him, he also wouldn't look at me. And it was like, it became very evident that I was like, oh, like this guy just, I don't know this guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm very respectful to judges. Like I am, I've always has been. So I was like, I've never had an interaction with this particular retired judge. Now, I don't know who this retired judge is, but definitely is not like vibing with me for no reason, right? So I was like, oh, okay. So this is racism thing coming into play, and I could feel it, and it was palpable, and it was like kind of obvious, right? It's like it's not one of those where we're just like, and like I'm speaking to him, I was like definitely not looking at him. I was like, oh, this is not good. Okay. Now I'm like, okay, well, obviously you're sort of a little bit, and you start feeling, you're like, I'm still very respectful to him. You know, he is a judge. You know, he's had a long career. I'm going to respect the position, even though he might not have been very respectful to me, right? More importantly, I'm still representing a client, right? If I start like fighting with him, what's that going to do to the potential of resolving this particular case, right? And so, okay. We started to go on. Obviously, it's very difficult to have some meaningful conversations with this going on. This was a strange sort of settlement conference where usually attorneys are with their clients in separate rooms, but this judge wanted both of us, everybody in the same room. So it was like a little strange, but you know, nothing's really advancing. And at some point he, you know, tells me and my client to head out. So we leave, and then he calls us back in. Now it's just us with a judge, and the judge is very clearly trying to bully us into accepting a very low offer from the other side. And starts saying stuff like downplaying the actual case. Like, I've never had a mediator do it in this manner. Wasn't looking at me, was looking at her, was talking about how bad her case was. And to the point where she started getting a little emotional. I could see, I was like, oh, she's going to start crying. And I'm like, and I'm sitting in here kind of going like, hey, like I had started positioning myself already, almost like, because we were sitting next to each other. I was sort of like almost in between him and her. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to fight with this guy, but like, this is not good. Mm-hmm. And so at one point I remember going, you know, this is because it was starting to get bad. And I was like, you know, this is just his opinion. You know, this is you know, not set in stone. And then he just goes off on me, right? But I needed to say that because like the stuff that he was saying. And then at that point I was like, well, Your Honor, you know, based on what you're saying, you see her that she's starting to cry, which incident, as soon as I said that, like she did start crying. Like she didn't do it on, you know, like, oh, it's just like, I think she was like trying to hold it back. And like, as soon as I said it, like tears started falling. Start doing and then like he sees that and he's like, oh, okay. Well, you know what, why don't you guys step out? And we didn't resolve the case at that time on that date. Eventually we did. And it was for a multiple of what that judge was trying to get my client to accept, right? Mm-hmm. And it was one of those moments where I could have fought with him, but it wasn't going to help her necessarily. I could have done many things in front of the other attorney that probably would have messed things up there as well, but protected her, right? And definitely spent time with her afterwards and helped her, and sort of she felt better after that interaction and understood that was just sort of an outlier individual making comments that you shouldn't have. But ultimately the right thing was done for the client, right? Yeah. And I think I could have done something definitely there that maybe might not have been the best for me in that particular county jurisdiction. It could have hurt me, but instead from that, the way that even that I behaved and dealt with that, I know made its way across. Yeah. I don't want to say too much, but I know it made its way across, not just there, but the firm as well. And sort of was like, hey, like this individual demonstrated the ability to handle some outlier situation in this way and still get things resolved for their client, right? So, it's just an example. And that stuff happened all the time, right? So much so it's just kind of, you're used to it. And it's not going to affect me. It's not going to direct my response. I can be more than that, right?
Yeah. And I think I'm hearing what I see in those moments or stories that other stories you've shared. There is being emotional and that could possibly affect, you know, your reputation, your client's case. But it does, and by having, I guess I'm trying to say, it's like emotions are okay, but it's like being emotional and acting out on, you know, what it is that you might be feeling, that's where you have to, I don't know, it's where you have discretion or wisdom, I guess, in those moments. And like I said, it doesn't mean like that stuff hasn't affected you. It's not like you're a robot and you don't feel when someone's treating you, like it doesn't impact you in some way, but
I know what you're doing.
like you said, but you don't let it bring you down or let it cause you to act out on somebody as well. And I think it's even helpful for like a lot of people who may be first generation folks who are entering this new level and this new profession, whatever it is, that maybe they do get treated some way because maybe they're different, they look different, you know, whatever it is about them that's, you know, different, I guess. Sorry. Yeah, like other words, it's just
sometimes you just don't have like this background or cultural knowledge or industrial knowledge of things because like this has not been our world at all, right? Yeah.
But you're talking about, like you said, no matter, it's like you said, you focus on what's important, which is your client as an attorney, as your client, and not emotions are okay, but acting out on those emotions may not always be the wisest thing to do.
Yeah.
And you know, it is case by case. I'm sure, you know, like I said, you had that moment where you said something. It wasn't disrespectful, but it was like you drawing the line, and it's like, hey, like, no, you're not going to treat my client this way.
And you know what I didn't add in there is that when I, you know, said that and he started talking and, you know, I mentioned that, well, you're starting to make her cry and like, I won't allow you. And I literally said that to him. I was like, and I'm not going to allow you to say that or treat her that way. Right. I didn't yell. Yeah. It wasn't like I'm trying to be disrespectful. It was like, matter of fact, just like, hey, we're not going to have any more of that. Right. And, I think that's the point. Look, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't speak up when there are injustices. That's literally all we do. Right? We fight for people when there are injustices.
And we have to speak up.
And we have to speak up when there are injustices. And sometimes, you know, I feel like we do that much better for other people, right, than ourselves even. But it's because as an attorney, like, I also want to make sure that I'm representing my client the best way possible, right? So sometimes in those moments, decisions are made to maximize their case, right? And ultimately, people that have backward sort of ways of thinking, that's more their problem, not mine, right? And I'm not going to let their problem
affect me,
sort of fester in my life. Yeah,
that's good. I think that's a good way to round that out, round that lesson out. So, do you want to go on to the next one, next lesson 4, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, maybe we just go to the next one because I think that one I can talk about it a little bit in the other one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go for it. Or wait, sorry.
So you want to do 5 years now?
5 years. Okay, so Kenny, you said shared those 3 lessons as an attorney practicing for 10 years, which is great. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Ken, because it's fresh. You know, I think more or less fresh in your mind too. I still think. I mean, you have such depth of knowledge as an attorney. You're so skilled, especially the firm that you worked at. Although you worked there for a couple of years, it felt like dog years, you said, because of the experience you gained. So thank you for sharing all of that, you know, imparting wisdom on us. And I think it's something all of us can take away regardless of profession. Just these mindsets and these lessons you've learned from 10 years of practice. And now we can switch to just the business side of things. Out of those 10 years, you know, it's crazy, but 5 years into being an attorney, you also added this role of being a business owner and, you know, starting your own practice. You know, we've talked on other episodes about that journey, you know, taking that step. And I actually wanted to read, you know, we're 5 years into this business, and I actually looked up the statistic of businesses. Nice. So it says roughly half of all new businesses in the U.S. fail within their first 5 years. So again, 48 to 50% is according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Wow.
We made it past.
So we're at the 5-year mark. I don't think we're planning on stopping there. But I just, you know, I was like, wow, 50%. And it's just crazy to me, but we're still, thank God, God's grace and goodness. I think we're still here as a business. But, you know, you've taken on this role as a business owner, You didn't learn that in law school, but it's something that, you know, have you always wanted to start your own business is the question I had. Like you
Yes,
knew
100%.
you wanted to be a business owner.
Yeah.
Did you know you were going to be a law firm business owner?
Yeah. I mean, 100%. That was the goal from the very beginning. That is why I wanted to work at the firm where I worked at. That's why, like, it didn't matter to me how much they were paying me, because I wanted to learn, as much as possible to be ready when I open up my own practice. So that literally, and I wanted to open up 5 to 7 years. And that's exactly what happened. Like, and it's so funny because like as the 5-year mark was coming up, I remember kind of going like, man, I don't know when that's going to happen. And then, you know, the way, you know, God works and things worked out, man, it's just like boom, boom, boom.
Day and night.
Get a chance to do it and do it. So, but yeah, so I always wanted to do it. Yes. Did I know what that entailed?
Yeah.
No.
Did you go to business school?
No, at all. Didn't know any of that stuff. You just kind of, I think I feel like as first generation, we also see our parents, and like so many of our parents are entrepreneurial in so many respects, right? You know, my dad did construction and had his own company and was doing that. And, you know, he started off, you know, asking for work in Home Depot lots and corners and then doing construction. That's what he did. And then eventually kind of worked his way up. My mom has, you know, sold stuff at swap meets and always sort of like her own little thing. So like not as employees of any, always. And so many, I think, immigrant families have this component of like also this entrepreneurial spirit. What we don't always necessarily have is like a formal training.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, that's just because it just didn't exist. Right. We just have this entrepreneurial spirit and like this, we're going to work hard. We're going to make it happen. And I think that's the most important thing that you need. And now what we've also learned since opening our practice, like, hey, like there's stuff that we also need to learn to run a business. Right. And fortunately, we're doing that.
All right. So 5 years as a business owner. You've learned a lot, still have so much to learn. But in these 5 years, what are the top lessons you've learned? Top 3 lessons. We'll start with the first one.
Yeah. I have a quote here by Margaret Mead. It says, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." And so for me, first lesson was about our core team. That's what we call our, you know, team here. We have obviously you, Dad as well, and sort of like forming our core team. And I think it's been so important to have that, to have you guys. We've talked about it before. I feel so fortunate to have you guys as part of my team and getting this thing off the ground. And we need hardworking, diligent people, smart, willing to try new things, and learn, comfortable with the uncomfortable. That's a nature sometimes of business, right? And disciplined, but also, you know, willing to take on risk. And sometimes you start off with those people. Sometimes you find those people along the way. Sometimes they were there all along. You didn't know, right? I mean, like when I started off my practice, it was just me, right? And you guys were still in your third year law school, you and Brandon. You know, Dad was working, doing construction. And so I started off my practice and I sort of get going from there. Eventually, you come and form a part of it. And then a year or two later, Dad also comes and forms a part of that. It sort of completes it. And it's one of these where I think with every step, you coming and Dad coming, it helped amplify the work that we could do, the net effect, the reach that we had, the capacity that we had. And so, I think that's so important. But this committed team of people, like that quote that I read, and you need that group of people.
I see you as a person. I think I've always seen you as someone who, and I've mentioned this before, it's like you have this large bandwidth and you take on a lot. And you just always been that way. You can do so much, you can leave, but also put in all the work that needs to get done to get this project or whatever it is done. But it sounds like you come to a point, right, where it's like, I don't know if it's, trusting others or it's delegation. Because I do remember seeing it up to a point where maybe
too much,
it could be, or things start maybe slipping a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But I guess in order to grow as a business, that's where, you begin to start maybe bringing some people, like you said, that you trust. Again, I mean, we have so much to learn, me and Dad.
Yeah.
It's not like we're the perfect
Everybody
partners
does.
or anything like that, but it's like, that's what I'm at least seeing from you.
Yeah.
It's like being willing to give a, delegate a little so that you can focus on the things that you're really good at as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think it's that having that core team, and so that you can delegate, and that you feel it's hard to give up the reins on something, right?
Yeah.
But I think people see that so much as like,
Especially for
I'm giving
lawyers,
up
we're
control.
type of people. I don't know, people who want to be in charge or in control.
Yeah, because if I sort of like, if sort of moment of honesty, like I step back, I feel I can do everything, right? You know what I mean? Like that's how we all feel. It's like I'm the best at doing like all these things, and like I know, because it's almost like we trust ourselves is a thing, right?
Yeah.
And like I trust that I will do X. But the problem is that you don't have all the time in the world to dedicate to become the best at marketing, for example. If I also need to be the best at trial work, if I also need to be the best at intake, if I also need to be the best as CFO, there's too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, at least for me, there's some superhumans out there that maybe can do absolutely all, right? But I think by and large, everybody has experienced this in leading a business, is that you need to delegate. And so you want to bring in the people that you trust enough to go, I am going to give this to you, and trust you with it, right? And so, for example, you and Dad, like that was so easy. I'm not going to say easy, right? Because it took a minute to get there. But for me to go like, actually, I trust you guys entirely with this. I trust you, Dad, with this, Sharon, with this. And you need to have the right people with you so that you're comfortable to do that as well. Because like that's the way that you can scale. That is the way that you can grow. And also it's just in terms of like lifestyle, it's better, right? I'm not saying that I work any less now, because now it's like I can dedicate more to this area, right? And whereas before, maybe it was, you're right, maybe things weren't being done in the best way possible because there just is 24 hours in the day, and you got to sleep some of it, right?
Yeah. No, I like that, Ken. Thanks for sharing that. And I was gonna add something to it, but it's slipping.
So how do you pick the people? Maybe
that was the question.
Yeah.
I think for you, it seems we're talking to people who might be interested starting their own business, whether it's a law firm, something else one day. How do you go about selecting your core team?
Yeah.
For you, you happened to choose us. We were in your family, but anyone else? How do you go about that? Or what are things you look for? What are you things you look for in these people?
I guess there's two things, right? One is, and I'm the first to say that I have the huge advantage of having my family here. But that's also the way that I choose to look at it, right? I see my life as having so many of these advantages in life. But if I take an honest step back and look at it, it's like, no, actually, there's like it's riddled with disadvantages. I've just decided to look at certain things as my advantages and use them eventually as advantages, right? And so I think everybody has the capacity to do that in their own lives. But I think with our family, for example, or when you're choosing somebody, I mean, it really has to be somebody who can. For me, it was first and foremost, that I trusted to work hard, right? Like for you, for example, you were the first hire at the office, right? And what did I know about you? Obviously, as my little sister, I do know, but that you worked hard and you were very diligent, very disciplined. I mean, extremely disciplined. And you were starting off, so it's not like you had this big background knowledge of what it is to be an attorney because you hadn't experienced it yet, right? But you had demonstrated yourself already throughout law school, leadership positions. You were doing depositions when you were still in law school. Like that is aptitude, man, right? That's like amazing. Certified law clerk. Like you had all the background anybody needed to get into a large law firm, right? And so into a big firm. And so from my end, it's like, cool, I know that and I see all that, but then you're very diligent and you work hard and I know I can trust you, right? And so like, let's get going, right? And so and then we always vibe, brother. You and I have always had a good relationship since we were kids as well, right? And the idea is for it to get better, right? With Dad, for example, like for him, he had no background in the legal world whatsoever, right? By the way, incidentally, with you as well, another component of it is that we were also trying to get off all our like tech and social media and do these things. And like we're like, Sharon can also help out with that. So you were,
I liked it.
help, and you liked that, right? So you were
maybe.
like, hey, like I can get in there and do this as well. So there was these things that you could also bring with dad, nothing to do with law, had no background, plaintiffs, much less plaintiffs work, which is an entirely different way of sort of like business as well in and of itself, contingency, advanced costs, all these things, right? But dad's really smart and really good with numbers, right? Very good with numbers, and has a background in accounting because that's what he studied when he was in school, right?
Yeah.
And so it was like, yeah, he'll be good because he's really good at this, and he has a really good head for organizing. And like I see him more ultimately as sort of like COO type of role because he's so good at like seeing things and organizing things and putting people in the right path and like helping people grow. He's done that with us. He does that everywhere he goes with people when they allow him to do it, right? And so like that's what I saw as well there. It's just like, well, like he's going to be good in the immediate in terms of helping with books, right? And numbers and strategic thinking about money and being able to allocate things correctly, invest in things correctly so that we can serve our clients in the best way possible. And then in the future in operations as well as he learns the industry. So it was like,
And you guys have a great relationship.
And my dad and I have a really great relationship, right? We tell all the time, he's my best friend, right? And he would tell you the same. And so I think it was that. Now, I think you're always looking for things that people that you get along with and that you can trust and whose work ethic you respect and who you respect as people.
Yeah.
Because if you have a reason to distrust somebody, man, that's a tough like way to do business. Yeah. One of the things that helps me sleep at night so much is that I never worry about anything to do with money with you guys. You guys have access to everything. That's not, for somebody who is so private always in life, and it's still something that like I struggle with at times, not because I don't trust you guys. It's just that I've always been a very private person because I've just always been very independent. And then all of a sudden, you guys have access to everything in my life, right? Everything. You guys can see everything in my life. But it's more because like it's important and it's needed, but I trust you guys too, right? I mean, you guys could take all my money tomorrow if you wanted, right? But I don't worry about any of that, right? Because I trust you guys, with my life, and more importantly, I trust you guys with my clients' lives. Right. And I think you need that built on trust, and then you look for people that you get along with. People, that's what I say, trust and respect. People that you trust and respect. You're like, hey, man, like. And by the way, like as I was going through practice, for example, I know people that I would like to come work at our office. Yeah. Because I trust them and I respect their work ethic. And I just respect them. And then I vibe with them as well, right? Yeah. Sort of like that's like third in line, right? But like I trust them and I respect, and I've told you who those people are. Yeah. And it's just like, like I respect those people. They work hard and like they represent their clients. They love their clients. They're smart, man. And I trust them. Right? Yeah. That you can leave them, and like, I'm not saying that you would, but you would never check in on them, but that wouldn't change the way that they work, right? Because it's not dependent on like, is somebody checking in on me? No. There's some internal thing that keeps them going in terms of work and representing their clients. And then obviously there's aptitude and stuff like that, but all stuff you can teach, right? Because that was like when you started, like, you don't know that stuff, but you can learn that stuff, and you'll learn that stuff over time. You want more than anything, it's the right attitude. And that for me,
character of a person, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. You respect them and you trust them. And why? Because of their character, because of who they are. Yeah. Right. So when you have those people and you get along with that person, that's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, yeah, I do want to. I want them to be a part of it. We can work together.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it helps a lot because sometimes. Where you see it's so easy to choose like the talented person, the most talented person on paper, or especially I guess when it comes to building a business, like you want the talented people on your team, like the ones that are really amazing at what they do. But for what I'm hearing with you is that those things are important too. Like I said, having aptitude, right? Being able to figure things out, but it's like these other things. It's like I said, it's respect. It's, character. It's, we don't have to get down the whole route with values, work ethic. All those things like kind of come first before all that talent and everything. Cause all those skills can be learned.
Yeah. That stuff can be taught. Yeah. And yes, you do want the most talented people.
Yeah, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
Why wouldn't you want that,
Yeah.
right? But before any of that, I think you're looking at these things, particularly when we're talking about people that you're going to build a business with, and with whom you are going to share life with to a large degree.
For the long run, and be in it for the long run.
Yeah.
Hopefully, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we want.
Yeah.
For sure. That's what we're here for. I like that, Ken. And so why don't we, with that then, how about lesson number 2?
Yeah.
That you've learned as a business owner.
So lesson number 2 is about learning. I have this quote from John F. Kennedy. Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. Kind of with the thing that I mentioned early on about practice, the lessons learned from 10 years of practice, but this idea that, man, you're always learning. You always have to be learning. Like, you've never really arrived. And I don't say that as a discouraging thought, like, oh man, I'm never gonna. No, it's actually, it's fun. Like, that's what life is. It's always discovering something new, learning something new. Like, I can always improve and always change. Life is always new. And leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. The only way I can become a better leader is by continuing to learn, whether it's about my practice or whether it's about business or whether it's about character. Whether right now, that like I'm reading the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, because one thing I've particularly noticed this year, particularly the second half of this year, but it's just like I need to become even more efficient with my time because we're getting busier. Right. So everything needs to be as efficient and purposeful as possible. Right. I have less room for error, and not like as this bad thing. It's just the way I see it. It's just like I have a little less room for error in terms of the way that I spent my day, because it needs to be the most efficient possible. Right. But then that makes it exciting. It's like, okay, how do I organize my life in the best way possible? Because incidentally, that's also going to bring me happiness. Like, I will be happy with a well-ordered life, and more well-ordered. And so, you're always learning something. And there's a business of law, there's a practice of law, and there's a business law. They're two very different things. And that was one of the things that we learned through this learning process as well. It's just like, hey, like, it wasn't enough to just say, hey, like, I'm going to open up my own practice. You can open up your own firm and like you get going. Now you can sign up clients under, your own retainer. And like, now you have clients. Hey, man, you need a business plan. You need to execute. You need to, and so arriving at that, something as simple as like the concepts in the book Traction that we first learned really of or spent more time with when we talked to Pratik, right, on our podcast about the book Traction. And we're like, hey, what is that? So we all got the book, bought it for everyone. We all read it. And then we were like, wow, let's start applying these things, right? So let's treat this like a business, because it is a business. That's the best way that we're going to represent our clients ultimately, is by best ordering the firm. Right. Whether it's the weekly meetings, the quarterly meetings, the reviews, the bigger picture, sort of what is our core focus? What's our niche? What is our 10-year goal? How do we get to that from a 10, 7, 3-year, 1 year, 90-day, monthly, week, and sort of like breaking all that stuff down. What are our firm values? What is our ideal employee? Like, all these things have helped us like become better sort of stewards of this business. And that's the way that I see this, right? This is not my business either. This is not your business. This is not even our business necessarily. I believe that this belongs to God, and that we've been given this as stewards to best sort of steward this, or, handle this, direct this in the best way possible. And to optimize that in the best way possible, we need to be as prepared as we can. I didn't go to business school, so we need to learn as much of those principles as possible, right? So it's a lot of learning. It's a lot of, I'm so happy like to live in like the time that we do now, because like there's podcasts.
Yeah, now. I was gonna ask, like, where do you get this information? You didn't go to business school, so where did you learn this, and what's some good sources? Look, you mentioned the book. You just said podcast.
Yeah, when I remember when you came on in particular, because I was listening to a lot of podcasts already, but when you came on, then I started sharing a bunch of podcasts with you as well, as I remember.
I started listening
to
them
it was like stuff as simple as like, well, look, I'll tell them, like the Game Changing Attorney podcast with Mogul. I like consumed everything that Bob Simon had put out there through the Justice team, the Justice Network, all the podcasts that he had out there, and still do. And There's also there's other podcasts like the Personal Injury Mastermind with Chris Dreyer. There's the Law Rank, Tip the Scales with Rio and Roy. Those are like the ones, the four, for example, that really sort of remain the mainstays. Because those are law firm owners or people in the law firm world speaking about their experiences and things that they've done, things that they're doing now, things that work, things that didn't work. And that's all the stuff that I sort of wanted to be consumed with and be thinking about, right? And so it was a lot of that. And then like the book Traction, then little different sort of books on leadership and things, or something as simple as what I mentioned now, right? Atomic Habits, because like now, like my nuclear sort of day needs to improve on a sort of hour-to-hour basis, right? And and then at the same time, the good thing, again, it's not just me, because you're doing it too. I know you are, and you're also listening to the same things and other things, right? Because there's a big focus on the marketing aspect and intake, right? How do you perfect that?
Just this week, I sent you something. I was like, hey, I listened to this podcast. Was it Tip the Scales? And I sent you a way to improve intake. So I'm going to look into that. But
and so that, and then I know Dad is from sort of financial and structural point of view. He's listening to other stuff, and he's always sending us things as well. And so it's that is actually really cool, because like you guys are listening to things, and then whenever you guys send me stuff, it's like it's gone through the filtering process of your life and your world, and you're like, hey, like this is good, Kenny. So like I don't have to listen to these like additional like 10 or 20 other things to arrive at the thing that you were like, hey, this is actually really good, the most helpful. And so I can add that to my life too, right? And so it's this sort of thing that we're all sort of on the same page and learning, and it's this never-ending quest. But it is learning. And I think that's it. It's like we're always the school just taught us to some degree that learning is important, but we're never really out of it. It's the school of life now, right? But it's like we keep learning, and we have to fall in love with that. And one of the things that from the book Atomic Habits that James Clear is just like we need to work on our identity, not so much the action. So it's like, you're not telling yourself, oh, I need to read this book. It's like, I'm a reader, right? If I want to read more books, it's not like, oh, I need to read this book, I need to read that. But no, I'm a reader. So what does a reader do? He reads books, right? Yeah. So like, I'm going to read this book, not so much because I need to do this thing, but because I am this, right? And so similar here, it's not like I need to learn this or I need to learn that because like I need to, no, I'm a learner.
I'm a lifelong learner.
I'm a lifelong learner. And that's what I always do, right? Dad said this to me, this was like a couple of years ago, but I really liked it. And he said, to become the person that we need, to become the person, I'm trying to think exactly because he said it in Spanish, so I'm like translated here. He said,
say it in Spanish.
Yeah, become the type of person that leads the firm that you want to see. Right.
How does he say it in Spanish?
Well, now I translated it all into English, so we'll just go there. But he said, like, become that person, right? Meaning you're not that person today. And that's okay, because that's fine. Otherwise, you'd have that. And so it's like, oh, no, that's cool, right? I'm not that person. Become that person, though. The same thing as like when I started practice 10 years ago so that I can be here 10 years later. It's like, if you want the firm that you want in 10 years, like become that person, but it's a gradual thing as well. So learn like what are the habits, what are the things that person would do? Become that person. And eventually in that process, you'll do it because you've become that person, right? And I really like that. So what is that? That's just the epitome of lifelong learner.
Lifelong learning, yeah.
But then that leads to the third thing. So the third lesson is about execution. And this is a quote from General George Patton. And it says, and it goes, a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. Again, a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. I love that so much. That quote is actually what started me like collecting quotes many years ago because I was like, whoa, that was so good. Okay. Because I think, have this thing with like analysis paralysis or paralysis by analysis, right? Is that like I would get stuck on something because like I really want things to be perfect. And then you sort of like delay things and you start to procrastinate really but because you're seeking perfection, and you get stuck with maybe or fears or worries of making mistakes or whatever. So like things don't happen. It's at some point, Kenny, you just got to do it, dude.
Yeah.
And a good plan violently executed today is better than a perfect plan executed next week.
What aspects of the business, like, have you seen that?
Yeah.
Or helped you, this quote or this mindset helped you get past?
Look,
That's
at
in
something
business.
as simple as, like, for example, choosing a case management system, right? It's like
Yeah.
we interviewed with different companies, looked at different ones, and then at some point, because everybody has good things to say about each one of them, and then bad
there's
things
so many
about
great-
each one of them, right? And it's
Pros
like,
and
which one's
cons to
going to
all
work
of them.
for you? And then we're going to spend all this money now on this one, but what if we don't like it? What if we don't blah, 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 right? And it's like, at some point, it was like, okay, you just have to choose, dude, because otherwise you're going to spend the next 2 years doing this thing, and you're still not going to be anywhere, right?
Yeah.
At some point, choose. And if it's not the right one, then you're going to have to change it later, right? But at least you made a choice and did something. And that also goes with, for example, the marketing, social media, right? At some point, it was just like, wow, man, it's not that you don't try to do things as best as you can, but at some point, you're like, let's put it out, right? Let's put it out and let's just do it, right?
Yeah.
Let's try it out. This podcast, for example, right? Like, if we waited for perfection on this podcast, we'd still be waiting for it. No, we went to podcast school. Nobody, the equipment, the material. I mean, what is that? At some point, you get the cameras, you do them. You're like, hey, like we know we want to do it. Let's do it. Hit record, right? And practice. Whether it's like intake systems, right? Whether it's whatever system it is, it's like, look. And we talked about this recently at our one of our end of year sort of reviews that we just had last week. We're having another one next week. But it's sort of like, what is one of the like big barriers like to like success, right? For us, it would be sort of execution, speed of execution, right? And it's like, it's not that we don't work hard or anything like that. No, it's just like at some point we just got to keep going, right?
Pull the trigger.
You got to pull the trigger on things, right? And mistakes will be made, and then we'll fix those along the way, right? But you have to unhitch the trailer, right? You got to go. You got to go. And I'd like that. I like that quote because it's just like violently execute doesn't mean it's like, yeah, it actually it wasn't perfect, right?
Messy is okay.
It was messy, dude. But that's better than waiting for this like perfect plan that may never come.
It's never,
And quite frankly, will never be there because there's no such thing.
That's perfect.
Right. So that doesn't mean we don't do our homework. We don't prepare as much as we can. We learn about the different products or about a strategy or about a tactic or whatever. But at some point, you just got to go because movement forward is better than delaying. So for us, I mean, that's helped me as well because I mean, I've always, I want perfection in everything and being okay with part of reaching that perfection that you're looking for is allowing things to play out.
Yeah. And I was going to say, it's like, what happens? Yeah. Pull the trigger. And how do you respond or take it when maybe you're trying this out, but it doesn't work out?
Yeah.
But it's like, you did it. I mean, you tried to calculate, it was a calculated risk, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't work out. How does that still shape your mentality, or how do you still keep moving forward even from those setbacks?
Yeah. Viewing it in this manner, which is cool. Now we know. Yeah. Right.
That's it.
And now I know.
Yeah.
And like, cool. We don't have to keep spending money on down this area because like now I know.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's like change tactics and go this other way. Yeah, all right.
But not letting it like drag you down or hurt you, or, because people could get into that mentality. It's like, oh, why did I made this huge mistake, or, this didn't turn out the way I thought. Now I'm X amount of dollars. Like, that's the other way of viewing it. People could see it, but it's like, you're like, it's all right. It's like, keep moving forward.
And the reality is that sometimes it can't hurt, and people can be in different positions in different places. We certainly have been in stuff early on where like we needed things to work out, and if it didn't, it was like, damn, it felt like money thrown down the drain. I really needed that, right?
Yeah.
But what's past is past, and if I dwell on it, it's only going to sort of keep me from seeing the opportunities in the future, right? So it's like, all right, cool. Well, I won't do that again. Like, let's go.
Yeah, especially see you as you're a business owner, someone who wants to scale, and in order to scale, I mean, you're gonna make mistakes along the way, but like you said, you have to keep going. You have to keep going, especially if you want to grow. If you
Yeah.
rather than stay the same small team or anything like that. It's like, it's that mentality.
100%. Yeah.
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 Oh, that's good. I like those, Ken. All the quotes. Is there anything else that you want to add? Or, I mean, it's been 10 years. You said 10 years turning, 5 years business owners. There's something that, you know, that you want to see in these next 10 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
As both a business owner and attorney, or what do you look forward most?
What I
to
look forward to most
in these next 10 years.
You know, 10 years.
We're still here. Hopefully,
That part.
we're
Yes.
still here.
I'm just thinking sort of like I was thinking 10 years back, and it's like it feels like so long ago, but also like it just happened. And man, that was so much in 10 years. Like our lives changed so much in 10 years.
Right.
Oh, they've changed so much in the last few years, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's really cool and it's really exciting, and the opportunities that are in front of us. And what am I looking forward to? Well, you know, we have our 10-year goal, and it's hitting that, right? And taking steps every single day, month, year to get there. And I'm so excited. I'm looking forward to doing it with you, honey, to do it with dad, to do it with mom, to, you know, do it with her family, to bring in new people as we plan to soon and very soon, and to start bringing other folks in as well. And I don't know, it's exciting. It's thrilling. As much as I believe it, it's also like nothing's promised. And I think that's what's fun. And we talked about the whole risk thing as well. It's like, cool. Like I have this, you know, all these things here on the suit, but one of my favorite one really is smooth seas never made a skilled sailor, right? And it's like, cool, yeah, you have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. This is where you learn. It's in the middle of the storms, the middle of the difficult stuff. And so like that part is exciting to me as well. So when we were playing sports, like you needed to go through like the tough games or like tough practices to get better. So that's exciting, you know, and maybe it's sort of like crazy, right? But that's exciting. It's like looking forward to those moments as well. And obviously the good times, but, and then continuing to believe, I think sort of keeps us moving forward. I have another one up here that says, how is the sky the limit where there are footprints on the moon? And I love that, right? Because there really is no limit. There's this other quote here that I had by Zayed Abdel-Noor, which is like some like veteran Wall Street financier. Just on belief. I don't really know much about him, but I saw it a long time ago, and I just really like the quote. It says, forget all the reasons why it won't work and believe the one reason why it will. And at some point, it comes down to belief as well. I am thrilled at the prospect of the future and figuring things out. That's what's fun. It's just figuring this thing out. Because again, no background in like business, but we're learning, right? Sure. And things are going well, thank God. And we want to continue to do that. And thinking about all the people that we're going to help is the thing that sort of is at the bedrock of everything, because it feels so good. I remember Dad saying this a while ago now, when sort of it went from him just being here for a few months to like, hey, like I want to stay on, like completely, I'm all in on this. And it was that one of the things apart from it being family is like, dude, I feel like we're doing something like really good here, right? Like we help people. Like that's awesome. And like I love being a part of that, right? And from his aspect, he's not really even client facing, right? Because he's like kind of business on operations and finances and stuff, but that he feels that he is a part of changing people's lives and helping people, because it doesn't happen without his work, right? But that's what I love so much, is that we get to do this, and it's a passion of ours to serve people, and we continue to serve people. So the more people that we're going to do that for over the course of the next 10 years. So we're talking about 10 years.
Yeah, 10, 20, 30. And I think, I mean, that's why, you know, you're the head of this company. Of course, it's because I think you're the visionary. You're the person that can see what others can't see, and you help us put that vision to our minds. So it's cool. It's been, like I said, I know I've said it before, but like an amazing journey to be on with you. And again, you know, you're an amazing boss, and so much that we can all learn from you, myself and Dad included, but I'm excited as well. It's for the next 10 years. So we'll do another episode 10 years from now about the other lessons you've learned in 20 years as an attorney and 15 years as a business owner. So
and we're still going to be young at 20.
we'll still be young. And Lord willing, still here, doing great work and building this business. Yeah. And I think it's something, like you said, that you're passionate about, you're passionate. And this is the way that you can do it. It's like by having this business and, learning so much along the way. It's a lifelong learning process, both as an attorney and a business owner. And you didn't get into this because it was going to be easy. So I think it's actually the opposite. You knew that this is going to have its challenges, its ups and downs, but you're willing to go through that because of what you see on the other side, impacting thousands, hundreds, thousands of people's lives and millions of people's lives, and being able to provide for others as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say one final thing here which is a truth that I've also very much enjoyed, and I'll give a shout out to all of our friends and our colleagues who listen to our podcasts, who are also part of our lives, just like in our professional network, and have become our friends. I mentioned earlier that I've always been very private. That also just meant that I know obviously you have friends and stuff like that, but it's just like I was always sort of very focused on I need to do this thing, right? I need to be an attorney. I need to be able to help my family out. I need to be able to provide, and sort of it was always very sort of singular, right? And it's been very cool over the last several years since really opening up our practice that we've been able to make so many friends and colleagues and people in our lives now that we know and that we enjoy, and that when we see, we're we get to catch up, and they are our friends, where it's wow, this has been this beautiful sort of new thing in my life as well, where
it adds to the joy of building a business and being attorneys, having a practice.
And it's so many great people, many great people that also, don't owe you anything. But they're just so kind and have opened up their hearts and their lives and made way as well in our industry. A lot of mentors and people have been great as well, and also friends and colleagues. And that's been this fun thing in our lives as well. And I think we also want to be the same sort of friend to those people as well. So shout out to everybody, and thank you guys for going on this journey with us.
Yeah, appreciate everyone. And if you have made it to the end of this episode, you're a real one. So we thank you for listening. Thank you again to Kenny for imparting so much wisdom. Like I said, these lessons I think are universal, that you can take into any aspect of your life, your profession. You want to be a business owner. These are things that you can apply into your life. And so thank you again, everyone, for sticking around, for listening to this, different episode of Art of Purpose. But we wanted to end the year off in this way, just having a conversation, getting wisdom and insight from Kenny. So thank you again. And if you haven't already, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel. If this message, this conversation, you think there's something great that came out of this and you want to share that with somebody, we encourage you, please forward this, share this with someone who you think could benefit from it. And we thank you, and we look forward to 2026, where we're going to continue this podcast. We're going to bring on, we have so many guests that we have planned, and so we're going to get them into the studio, get some other great conversations going, meet some other amazing professionals, people we look up to, leaders of their field and in their profession. So we're excited for what 2026 holds for this podcast, and thank you for being on this journey with us. We wish you the best. And here's to the end of a great year and the start of another one. And so many things that we don't even know are going to happen. They're going to be great. Yeah. And looking forward to going on this journey with you still, Ken.
See you in 2026.
See you on 2026.
Thank you, Sharon.
Take care.